What if I told you that a teenager, once called nothing more than Neymar's clone, just outshined Yamal, the supposed future of football? One match, one statement, and suddenly the entire sport is asking the same question. Did Désiré Doué just change the game forever? Désiré Doué isn't just another Academy wonder kid. He's the jewel of French football's next generation. Born in Rennes, he stepped onto a Ligue 1 pitch at just 16 years old, and instantly, you could feel he wasn't like the others. His dribbling was electric, his balance almost unfair, and the confidence he carried made people whisper the name of Neymar. By the time most players his age were still figuring out youth tournaments, Doué was already scoring screamers in the French top flight. Clubs across Europe were watching closely, and it didn't take long for PSG to step in. They wanted him not just as another addition, but as the face of a new identity, young, hungry, fearless. The nickname Neymar's clone began to follow him everywhere, plastered across headlines and fan debates. But for Doué, it was never about imitation. It was about proving that he could be even bigger. The teenager carried himself with the same audacity as Neymar, but behind it was a burning determination to outshine his idols and crush every comparison. And very soon, he would have the perfect stage to prove it. Every young star needs a defining stage, and for Désiré Doué, it came sooner than anyone expected. PSG's Champions League final clash against Inter was supposed to be the night of the veterans, the stars with years of experience. But instead, it became the night of a teenager who refused to be intimidated. Doué didn't just play, he took over. 2 goals, 1 assist, and a performance that left defenders frozen, fans screaming, and headlines exploding across Europe. With those moments, he etched his name into history books as the first teenager ever to deliver that kind of impact in a Champions League final. Commentators were stunned, social media went wild, and suddenly the Neymar clone wasn't just living up to the hype, he was rewriting it. What was once a label of imitation turned into proof of evolution. And the football world realized something shocking. This wasn't Neymar 2.0, this was something entirely new. To understand the weight of what Doué did, you need to know who he was up against. Yamal wasn't just another young talent. He was already being called the future of football. At just 16, he had become Spain's youngest ever scorer, carrying Barcelona through decisive matches with a calmness that felt unreal for his age. The awards piled up fast. Golden Boy, Euro 2024's Young Player of the Tournament, and even a Ballon d'Or nomination before he could legally drive. All of their revival, and the kid fans believed would dominate the next decade. Every dribble, every goal, every moment screamed of a prodigy destined for greatness. He had the spotlight, the trophies, and the world at his feet, which is exactly why Doué's rise felt like a storm, because nobody was supposed to rival Yamal this early. But when Doué announced himself on the biggest stage, suddenly Yamal's throne didn't look so untouchable anymore. If Doué's performance lit the fire, his words poured gasoline on it. Just days after the final, a short TikTok of him went viral. No hesitation, no filter. He looked straight into the camera and said, "Better than Yamal? It's me." 6 words that sent shockwaves through football. Fans flooded the comments, debates erupted on Twitter, and suddenly it wasn't just about 2 teenagers playing beautiful football. It was a rivalry. Some praised his confidence, saying this was the mentality of a future legend. Others called it arrogance. claiming he hadn't proven enough to speak Yamal's name. But the effect was undeniable. In one sentence, Doué turned comparisons into a full-blown storyline. PSG versus Barca, France versus Spain, Doué versus Yamal. And as the clip kept spreading, the football world realized this wasn't just a playful jab. It was a declaration of war for the spotlight. When you put them head-to-head, the picture gets even sharper. Doué's breakout season with PSG ended with 16 goals and 16 assists across 61 matches. Numbers that would be impressive for a seasoned pro, let alone a teenager. Meanwhile, Yamal put up 18 goals and 25 assists, guiding Barcelona to a domestic treble and earning a reputation as their most dangerous weapon in tight games. On paper, Yamal edges the stats. But football isn't just numbers, it's how you do it. Yamal is clinical, elegant, and calculated, his left foot carving open defenses with surgical precision. Doué, on the other hand, is chaos. He thrives on flair, unpredictability, and the kind of fearless dribbling that leaves defenders spinning. Where Yamal looks like a seasoned veteran, Doué looks like a street footballer dropped into the Champions League. And that contrast is exactly what makes their clash so irresistible. Fans argue endlessly. Is consistency more valuable? Or is Doué's explosive flair the true mark of a future icon? What's clear is that neither player plays in anyone's shadow anymore. The comparisons to Neymar or Messi are flattering. But the real story is how these two teenagers are forcing the world to imagine a new rivalry entirely their own. Every generation has its defining rivalry. Messi versus Ronaldo, Mbappe versus Haaland. And now, fans are beginning to whisper that the next decade might belong to Doué and Yamal. The beauty of it? Their stories are destined to collide. PSG and Barcelona sit at the heart of European football, and every time their paths cross, the spotlight will burn brightest on these two. Doué leading PSG's new wave, fearless and flashy, while calm and ruthless. The clash isn't just about goals or assists, it's about identity. France versus Spain, street football versus academy polish, swagger versus discipline. Experts already predict that the Champions League, Euros, or even a future Ballon d'Or ceremony will stage their inevitable showdown. And when it happens, it won't just be another match. It'll be the moment football decides who truly owns the future. From a moment Désiré Doué stepped onto a League One pitch at just 16, whispers followed him everywhere. The Neymar clone. For most players, that label would be a curse, a weight too heavy to carry. But Doué never shrank under it. Instead, he embraced the pressure, sharpened his style, and turned the comparisons into fuel. And when the lights were brightest, in a Champions League final, he delivered a performance so explosive that even the word clone felt insulting. He was a Neymar 2.0. He was something else entirely. On the other side of the story stands Lamine Yamal, Barcelona's golden child. A prodigy breaking records with every touch, already crowned with awards most players can only dream of. He's the polished product of La Masia's tradition, the calm assassin destined to carry Spain and Barca into a new golden age. For months, we've come close to touching him. But then Doué happened. And that's where football becomes cruelly beautiful. Rivalries like this don't wait for anyone. They arrive suddenly, tear apart the script, and force fans to pick sides. Yamal had the world at his feet, and still does, but Doué's rise has changed the narrative. Now, every time Yamal steps on the pitch, he carries not just Barcelona's expectations, but the shadow of Doué's challenge. What makes this story so powerful is that it's only beginning. We're not talking about two players at the twilight of their careers, but teenagers. Teenagers who still have everything to prove, and yet already have millions debating their legacy. This isn't Messi versus Ronaldo reborn. It's something new, raw, and unpredictable. Flair versus control. Chaos versus order. France versus Spain. And here's the truth. No matter who you support, one thing is undeniable. Football's future has already arrived. The Neymar clone destroyed expectations. Yamal refuses to be dethroned, and their rivalry might just define an entire era. So the only question left is this. When history is written, whose name will shine brighter? Yamal's or Doué's?